Soup. Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me have some more RPG horror stories. By the way, I just want to say thank you guys so much for your email submissions. I've been getting emails consistently, or here and there. Thank you guys so much for any sort of email submissions y'all been giving me. I'm gonna try to start covering more email submissions, the sooner the better, while also covering some of the RPG horror stories that we have on RPG Horror Stories Reddit. Speaking of that, let's get to the first story for today. A couple of stories featuring beginner players. Warning, I'm not saying beginners are bad players, I'm saying the beginners I had to deal with were. I'm saying just in case. The first one happened in Dragon of the Icespire Peak. It was my first campaign, playing with two of my friends who played for the first time too. In difference is though they didn't have any experience, so I tried to teach them. So in Fandolin, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, there's a shrine. The two of them, both fighters, a human, which we'll call fighter, and a halfling, which we'll call halfling, came there, though they both didn't worship the goddess of the shrine. Because of that, they decided to break a statue in the shrine. Then a lot of people came to see what happened and were mad. So they decapitated one of the townsfolk. They ruined their reputation so bad we had to restart the campaign. I told you players that there's more ways to approach the situation instead of decapitation. What? How? The second one happened with the same player in our second attempt of the campaign. I wanted to introduce a DMPC because they were both war fighters and were still not entirely good at combat. Halfling and Mage NPC were in a mine where they met Fighter, who was there for the same quest. They got into a fight. Yes, if you aren't sure already, they are murder-hobos. And I had to calm them down before they killed each other by using the sleep spell with a mage NPC who almost died twice, but somehow was good at his death saves. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I get it, new people trying to play and stuff, but the one thing you should probably try to encourage people to do is like not be a murder hobo. Like, I get it, sometimes you just want to play a character that just kind of goes ballistic and goes all over the place and stuff like that, where, you know, maybe the DM is cool with having like a murder hobo party, you know, just a kind of like a one shot, sometimes people like to run like one shots where they play something a little bit different, or something a little zany or crazy or wacky and stuff, just to kind of blow up steam before they get to the main campaign. You should probably encourage people not to be murder hobos, especially for the very first time, because like actions have consequences sort of thing, you know. If you attack a guard or decapitate a villager, I guess you gotta go to jail forever, and basically you gotta be punished super hard, and if you do something, you gotta have consequences happen to you. So you better be mindful and better make sure that you're okay with the things happening and the consequences that can follow. At the same time, when Fighter was put to sleep, they heard a sound from behind a blocked off cave, so they started making their way there. It was the DMPC who they were supposed to save and take into the party to become stronger together, but then Fighter woken up and resumed to fight. Obviously. They ignored the DMPC completely and put Fighter into sleep again. Then Halfling proceeded to carry him to Fandolin and locked him in a room. At the time, Fighter was already almost dead, so he refused to continue, even after I told him that we can long rest and heal. We never finished that campaign. I'm assuming the fighter got upset because they maybe lost a fight or something. They got bitter, they were put to sleep, and they were like, I'm gonna fight again, I'm gonna fight it out, and then got put to sleep again and then never got to really do anything. So that's why the player quit, because they thought that like, I can't do anything. Not everybody's gonna vibe with D&D, and not everybody's gonna want to play cooperative games. Sometimes people just want to murder hobo for the sake of murder hoboing, and it's not my play style, but I understand the appeal to it, sure. But if somebody just doesn't want to play because they just want to murder hobo, and if they don't get their way they just quit, then maybe they're just not a game for them. The third and last story happened in my homebrew campaign. It was a pretty cool story, but of course something had to happen. I'll believe it. There were two players, Elf Druid, Fighter, yes, the one from the previous stories, still a human, and also a Dwarf Paladin, who was meant to join another session. They were in a library searching for clues about a weird snowstorm in the middle of spring that happened in the city. Of course, Fighter got frustrated when they didn't find anything major and attacked the owner of the library with a bow, trying to snipe him from the other side of the library. Then when the NPC hid in the other room, Fighter destroyed the door with a hand axe, but luckily didn't catch the librarian when he ran away. Have you considered, just as a suggestion, telling a fighter why Fighter Why are you attacking this guy for absolutely no apparent coherent reason? Have you realized that maybe talking to the guy will get you better progress done than just getting angry and attacking the library? What is Fighter doing? What is the thought process behind what they're doing? Have you talked to your Fighter? Do you know why they're doing this? I hope you have, because this makes no sense at all. Why are they doing it? After the session, he left the campaign because I didn't let him kill a major NPC. We continued for one session with the Druid and Paladin, but the group fell apart because Fighter left. Solution: I don't play with Fighter anymore. Lol. Yeah, I probably shouldn't. I don't think they want to play this sort of game. They want to play a cooperative game. They want to play GTA, Skyrim with like God mode and stuff. They want to play, I don't know, Blade and Sorcery in VR. That's actually a really good game. Basically, I think the Fighter just really wants to play a power fantasy game where they can run around and kill whoever they want. There's a lot of games out there that can serve that power fantasy, so Fighter should probably play that and not D&D or any TTRPGs in general for that point. If they want to try it again, sure, but I wouldn't want to have Fight 2 in my games personally. Sounds like a lot. One foot out the door with my current group, DM keeps putting me down and acting superior because he's played for 20 plus years. I've been playing 5e for about 6 years now. When I started playing my first campaign, DM had a very relaxed attitude with the 5e rule set because we were all theater nerds that were just there for the story. This was fine, but there were a few times that it felt like we were being railroaded through a play than an interactive story. My second and third campaigns were fairly middle of the road. The rules are made for a reason, but they can be bent for the one true rule. The rule of cool trumps the mechanics in a very rare circumstances. Not everybody plays by the rule of cool. Sometimes people want to be very strict on how they want to play D&D. They maybe want to go by rules as written because it's more comfortable for them, because maybe they have a bit of difficulty just going by the improvisation aspects of it and just want to stick to the actual, like, how it's written stuff, rules as written. I kind of like rule of cool, and I try to implement it where I think it's kind of okay without completely overblowing and overtaking mechanics in general. So I don't really mind rule of cool. I think it's kind of neat, but I know some people, they just don't want to have rule of cool. They just want to play by the book, by the actual rules. The rules as written, the raw kind of stuff. And just because one game doesn't really go with rule of cool more doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means maybe it's just not for you. But listen, I think we're a little bit early in the story. Let's go ahead and get back to it. If it is about the rule of cool and the big problem behind it, that could be, but maybe I'm just jumping the gun here. Scheduling conflicts have put campaign 3 on hiatus, so the DM recommended me to a group he played with years ago, ran by someone I know for forever, but lives out of my state. The group is people who have been playing D&D for over 20 years, most of them coming from AD&D days back in the prehistoric 1980s. Jokes aside, they're a very knowledgeable set of people, especially the DM when it comes to the mechanics of all editions of D&D. To the point he's made some additions of his own. Now, I haven't been playing for a small amount of time, so I know a fair bit about D&D. But of course, there's some odd mechanics every now and again that will trip me up, and I'll ask a question. In every group, with every DM especially, that I've ever had, this is no issue. Before now, at least. The first instance I can recall that red flags appeared was at session 0. I didn't say it as 1 until now. At first, we all met in general Discord and had some light conversation. He pulls me aside to private Discord call to chat. I've known this guy my entire life, so I wasn't sure why we were talking in private, but anyway, he says that this is a group of really experienced players, and that we hold a certain standard of play, in a way that made me feel like I was in a job interview rather than playing with a gaming group. There's a few mechanics I've got to get used to with this group. Experience leveling, a really involved economy system, blending rules from 3.5 into 5e. It was a lot to read through, but I'm game for a new approach. Character creation is fine, started to play an Eldritch Knight, and off we go. First few sessions were your standard fare. Session 3 was when things started to get a little tense. We were in a fight and had myself and Monk basing one guy. I attacked normally without any new bonuses, as every campaign I've ever been part of has had, and the DM says, "Whoa dude, you're flanking. You got to add your bonus." When I asked what flanking was, he said, "Okay, well that's in our house rules on Roll20, so if you had read those you would know what that is, but..." And explains. That one stung a bit, but not the worst DM experience I've ever had. Chop it up to it being midnight and moving on. Okay, I see what you're getting at. It could be potentially that maybe the DM was being a little bit rude. It's like, whoa, champ, this was now rules on roll 20. If you would have read that, you would have known about it, but let me tell you about it anyway. I mean, it could have been that, or it could have just been the guy has a particular way of expressing things. I mean, I know a lot of people that have a particular speech mannerisms, but they don't specifically want to be rude. They're just how they talk. I don't know. I can kind of just chalk it up to maybe just a weird way to express it, but there's a lot more to this, so let's keep on going. Second time comes around session 8 or 9. We're at a shop buying items, and my guy comes across an item specific to his backstory. Oh wow, how much is this? Shop owner says, that will run you about 1,000 gold. I have 600. Oh man, that looks a bit out of my price range. Then the GM out of character says, wait, what? You should have the gold for that. Oh, you got 2k from last session. And I say, oh, sorry, must have forgot to put that on my sheet. How much was it? And he just starts laying into me. Look, man, stat tracking is very important in our game, and no one is going to hold your hand to add that to your loot. That's one on you to track and your experience. Were you not paying attention or something? I must have missed it. Well, we'll give it to you this time, but I want to be clear that you should have been doing this already. The session ended not long after that. I was very clearly upset as this was all happening, so one of the people in the group messaged me and asked if I was okay. I asked him if this was common with his DM, and he said he got his moments for sure. I left one of his other campaigns because of something similar. When he yelled at us for something, just stick with it. The DM later apologized, and we seemed to patch things up when I told him how that incident in the prior one made me feel. Maybe the DM just has, I don't know, a lot to keep track of and he just wants to make sure the players are attentive. Maybe the DM had bad experience with people not, keeping up with stuff or something, and maybe it's like a pet peeve or something. I mean, I don't know, listen, it genuinely doesn't seem like anybody is in the wrong here right now. It's just a misunderstanding. And the DM even apologized too at the end of the day, and the other player said, yeah, he has moments. Sometimes people just have those moments where maybe they get a little bit irate or something, or they're keeping up with a lot of track. Who knows? I don't think maybe the DM meant it wrong. It could have been that the DM is just straight up an asshole, right? The DM is just an asshole and just wants to be mean to the new guy or something because the new guy's not keeping track or something. Could be. Or I don't know what's going on. There's lack of context. We don't know if the DM was keeping track of everybody else's stuff or whatever. I have no idea. Regardless of how the story finishes, by the way, if there is a certain point where, for whatever reason, a session or DM or the aura, the group and stuff makes you feel uncomfortable, always speak up. And if it's still not something like, not your cup of tea, you don't like the specific DM's approach to things, you can always leave. No D&D is better than bad D&D, and sometimes go take a break and find a group that fits you more. If the DM's behavior is, a little bit touch and go for you, then that's fine. Nothing's wrong with that. You like the things that you like and you enjoy the things that you enjoy, and it's good to follow along with that and follow through with that. And if the DM is not your vibe, the DM is not your vibe. Nothing wrong with that. Last session, another fight. Now in a cellar. We're in a range combat of 10 plus tiles, and I'm an all melee build. I get to the end of my moves and say, alright, that's it for me. Another player says, do you want to dodge? I say, oh, I don't think I have dodge. Seeing all my campaigns, I had never seen dodge used, not even on monks where they could benefit. Just hadn't happened. The player explains it very coolly, and I say, oh, cool, thanks, and think nothing of it. Learned something new. Had a fun session with great RP moments. It was probably my favorite session we've done. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I've ever used dodge myself, really. But it's always an option anyway. It's always good to remember all the abilities that you have. I remember all my stuff because all of it's laid out really nicely in BTT Foundry. We have something called a Argon Combat HUD, I believe is the module. It basically lays out of everything you can do for your character as a main action, bonus action, reaction, and what have you. It is super nice and super neat. Makes it feel more like a video game, and you can keep track of all your abilities and all the things and your movement and stuff. Oh, it is my favorite. It is the best. But I mean, yeah, if you're not gonna use ability much, you're probably gonna forget about it, understandably. DM texts me the day after and says, hey, I'm really going to need you to read the player's handbook. I laid out in the beginning that we're all veterans, and for the morale, it's important you know the basics of D&D. And you not knowing what the dodge action is, turn on a red light for me. I understand the intent of what he's saying, but my forgiving asshole tendencies tank is on empty now. I skipped this last session because, well, I don't feel welcome anymore, and talking to my DM clearly only puts a band-aid on a personality flaw that will come back. So here I am, kind of looking for advice. Stay or leave. You know, guys, I gotta say, this is a difficult one. I mean, on paper, right? I don't think the DM had ill intention to say like, hey, I would like for you to remember, you know, you have a dodge. Maybe the DM is an asshole, right? Maybe, could be. Or the DM maybe had experience with previous players before where they had to constantly be reminded over their actions, what spells they can use, what bonus actions they had, what have you. Maybe it comes from experience. And maybe the guy's just trying to be nice about it and just say like, hey, make sure to look up the player handbook for all your stuff, just in case, instead of, you know, just being a dickhead. If the DM was coming in like, you fucking idiot, you don't know what a dodge is, you better, if you come back in next session, you don't know what a dodge is, and give me a 10-paper dissertation, an essay about what dodge does and why it's useful in D&D, then you're out of here, buddy. Then yeah, if the DM was like, you know, going in very strong about it, I get it. Yeah, it could be a little bit annoying with people reminding us like, here's a reminder of this thing. Hey, make sure to read the handbook for this thing. I get it. That can also be kind of annoying too. Sure, completely understand. But on paper, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of ill intention. Maybe I'm just overseeing things. Maybe I'm just not reading directly finer into the fine details and stuff. So I'll leave it up to y'all. What do y'all think? Is the DM being an asshole here, or is he being fine? I honestly have no idea. It doesn't seem like the DM is trying to be specifically a butthole, right? And we've read stories where DMs go out of the way to act like a specific level of prickdom, right? Where they go in complete dig-back territory. We've seen that happen before. And I gotta be honest, I don't see it here. I'm gonna leave it up to y'all. What do you think is going on here? Is the DM being a jerk, or is the player just overreacting? Should the player stay and give the game another try, or should they just leave and find a different group? When they mentioned about the rule of cool and stuff, I thought it was going to be about that. It's just going to be some old curmudgeon DM that doesn't like the rule of cool or something. But no, this is completely different. This is just like tiny little things, tiny little like interactions that apparently are enough to paint a DM an a-hole, I guess. I don't know. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.